when you don't feel like putting makeup on for a relatively quick video when you're sick, but also don't want to be told how tired you look or how not whatever your eyes look. Glasses. Hi, welcome back to the channel. Your humble resident edutainment cognitive psychologist is having a truly 2022 experience of a year. I'll give more details during the credits if you're curious, but basically this year just continues to pile things on. Even since the last update video I made, there's just been more things just thrown at me. And the thing that tipped things past a point where I could just kind of keep chugging along is the virus finally infiltrating our house, so I don't feel good. I'm on the mend. I have my voice mostly back, but I don't feel so good. But because we live and die based on the algorithm on this platform, I can't really afford to take more time off to rest and relax. Like, I've already done that, so now I need to get back to it. The content must flow. And since I haven't done it already, this video made possible thanks to continuing support of viewers, patrons, and PayPal pals like you. Thank you, as always, for supporting this work. It does mean a lot to me, and if you haven't, do consider subscribing. That also helps. I think it was Sam, our Black Goat tour guide of hell, who mentioned something about having some curiosity for how other YouTubers work and what their production flow looks like, so let's have a chill sick vibes look behind my scenes. This will be a quick look at that. For a more detailed look, check out my Patreon. There is a Patreon exclusive video detailing the process behind making the Coda video for the 12 Rules series. Oh yeah, I also have merch. So hoodies for your own sick vibe days, mugs to drink the tea for your own sick vibe days, stickers, things. Link in description. Continue. That's not a standy surface. Okay, I need a cough drop. Ugh. I'm going to walk you through the life of one video. We're going to work with the last Beyond Order video because it's a done project, and also I still have all the project files and stuff on my computer for it, so easy peasy. I work on these things basically serially, so one video, finish it, next video, whatever. I know some people can work in parallel on things, but I'm not one of those people. I'll give you a peek at another thing patrons get. This is a master list of videos in the queue. I've got some stuff blurred out, so there is some mystery for non-patrons. Yes, it is a Google Doc. We are all about professional organizational tools on this channel. So we pull the next video topic out of the idea pool. Step 1 is scripting. For relatively minor projects, like this one, I will use some sort of doc for scripting. Google Docs were one of those. For the more major projects, I use the good old trusty LaTeX. LaTeX is a document markup language. That description sounds like a lot, so just bear with me a sec. So to define by exclusion, markup languages are different from things like Word, which is described as what you see is what you get. All the formatting stuff happening you can see directly. It's largely happening through the GUI. LaTeX, being a markup language, means you're doing some coding to make things happen. To get the LaTeX output, in my case a PDF file, to the same place as a Word example will take a little more work on the back end, but that statement has a huge asterisk I'll explain in a little bit. But in getting it there, you can see what's meant by markup. All those commands are telling tech stuff needs to happen. Once we have all that stuff in place, we compile it and check the output PDF. The end result looks fairly similar, but you may have noticed a couple things while writing it. These basically boil down to me using a starter file that is full of settings I use in my scripts. The obvious one from this little demo is the command highlighter. The enclosed text will be put in brackets and highlighted without me having to go and manually highlight it like I would in Word. I have the part command customized to give me that wide box that helps me chunk the video in editing. I am admittedly abusing LaTeX section formats to get the outline format I use in my scripts. There are areas where LaTeX really shines for me. Lots of places. So we're just going to focus on two that are relevant to this work. First is in script generation. As you probably know, I use a couple different setups when I'm filming. So to make filming that easier, and to make sure I hopefully don't skip anything, I divide out the scripts. Let me show you what I mean in both Word and LaTeX, so bear with me while I get the LaTeX file where it needs to be for this work. There's a lot of fancy stuff happening under the hood in LaTeX to auto-generate the master script plus one for each other angle. The way I was having to do that in Word was copy-pasting from the master, which sucks. At this scale, it's easy to do, but let's take a gander at that Beyond Order script. The master with everything in it was 22 pages long, with plenty of switches between angles. Being able to streamline this process helps me bunches. While we're looking at this, I can show you a couple of other formatting things. There's the quote environment, which I copy and paste into Premiere just for those quote reads. There's also little editing notes to Dear Future Me for things I know I want to add to the video. Finally, I know these are standard things that you see in scripts or whatever, but these amuse me to no end. The highlighted chunks can include directions to me that strike me as very L-core.
Temptingly.
Dryly. Disappointingly. Breathy sighishly. Second is reference handling. Word has come a long way in the last 20 years in being able to handle this natively, but I still prefer the way LaTeX works. I use JabRef to view the BibTeX file that has all the references I've used on this channel so far, but there's many different ways to accomplish that. So you put the reference into the BibTeX file, then you just have to include the reference key inside LaTeX and it'll auto-populate your reference list. Third, which is really more of a 1.5 than a 3 because it's not as relevant to the YouTube stuff, but important enough that Dr. Mr. the Husband / the script reviewer thought I should include it. And that is the ability to make the document bend to your will. I learned LaTeX after using Word to write my master's thesis, an experience that was bad enough that the preferable thing to do was to learn a markdown language to write my dissertation. In writing my master's, there were a lot of random little things going wrong unexpectedly, but the thing I can vividly recall to this day are figures 6 and 7. With how my results section was written, Microsoft decided, these two figures need to be on the same page. I was using the automatic figure referencing system that was in Word and had captions for them. Cool. But for some reason completely unknown to me, figure 6 caption would be up top, figure 7's caption would be on bottom, but the figures would be in the wrong place. I thought, surely, I must have pointed them to the wrong files twice, so I deleted them and tried again. Figure 6 caption figure 7 itself, figure 7 caption figure 6 itself. And this just kept happening again and again and again. In trying to fix that situation, at some point I introduced a new problem where subsequent figure numbers were off by 1. So now I'm trying to fix both those things and nothing is working. So you do the thing where you just rip the band-aid off and cut the text from the bad document and paste it into a nice, clean, fresh one that hopefully doesn't have whatever weirdness. And in this process, I discovered the problem. I don't remember which figure it was, but one of them, in trying to fix things, decided it needed to be behind my text. Behind my text so effectively that I couldn't find it until I had removed the text that was covering it. Great! So when that document was done and dusted, I swore to myself, there is no fucking way I am using Microsoft Word to write my dissertation. There is no way. We are going to have to learn LaTeX. And fortunately, I knew about LaTeX because I had a lot of physicists in my life, and in LaTeX, it's a lot easier to just type out formulas and half-lives and whatever, because the commands are right there. You're not having to pop into menus to get everything formatted like you need. Admittedly, there is a learning curve in picking up LaTeX, but the good news is, once you figure something out, you can just Frankenstein that into your new documents moving forward. It's brilliant that way. So by example, when I'm getting ready to write a new script, I basically just copy and paste the text files from the previous script, change the names on them, change the title and stuff, and I'm good to go. All of the formatting is set. So I get all the things scripted out, research incorporated, all that stuff, send a draft to Dr. Mr. the Script Reviewer, he reads it, adds comments, I get that back, incorporate the comments and whatever, and then I print it out because, yes, I work from paper copies for all the notes I take on it. Anyways, with that in hand, next step is filming. Step 1 of filming is getting all the equipment in place. So the camera gets to be put on the tripod because it does not live up there with all the cap action. the lights, the microphone, all of it. Equipment. I am using a Canon R with a fixed 50mm lens. For a while, I had been using a different lens, but switched to that one so I could get the lower aperture range at a not crazy price point. I film in the RAW format, so I have more control when I'm doing the color correction later. So working our way through the cables, we have an HDMI cable coming out into the Atomo Shinobi, which is a pretty nice little monitor because of that monstrosity. Like, being able to see what's going on from way back here can be kind of difficult. Like, woo, tiny. There is a USB cable running to my computer, which I use to check before I actually start filming proper. Just check on my computer that things are going to work well in the color correction and stuff. The red cable is connected to a lav mic, which gets to live attached next to my actual microphone for syncing the audio and having a backup, which I have had to use at least once. Zooming out, I just upgraded my lights to these bad boys. I had been using $20 lights from Amazon, and it's amazing how much just switching the lights to actual professional photography lights changed how the footage looks. Like, it's night and day. Let's see. Those are newer, however you say it, LED panels, and have crazy amount of settings. And actually, like, this brightness that I film with is like 1% the total brightness that these things can put out. But if I go pretty much any brighter than this, I get a headache. So we make everything work. I also have that newer up top. Let's see if I can. And yes, that is parchment paper in front of it acting as a diffuser. Pro settings here. And I've got that guy up there to give my face some shadow and definition that these guys typically hadn't been bringing to the party. Maybe these guys can more, but whatever. It gives a little bit of normal color. Okay, so then the microphone is by Audio-Technica, and it's using like the typical audio cable and not like a USB one. And that is routing through that Scarlett audio interface down there. And again, another nice upgrade. I used to have a ring light in this setup too, to give more frontal and bouncy light, which is part of why this bouncer's here now. But I didn't like the eye light it was giving me, which is another part of the reason why I upgraded the lights. What else? Oh, I have this little camera remote. I think it was like 20 or 30 bucks. And, you know, just so I can stop and start recording without having to get up and fuss with the camera. It's brilliant. Also, in the back, you can probably see the moving blanket, which is doubling as light blocking and also sound dampening, as otherwise there's a lot of noise that just gets bounced from that. Yes, I do have curtains, and if I was doing a serious video, I would have it like zero light coming through. So once I have all the equipment set up, the next step for me is to put on makeup. And I try to film in one marathon of a day, depending on how long the video is, because I only want to do it once per video. The entire process from start to end takes me roughly 2 to 3 hours. There is a snack break in there, like I'll typically have lunch after putting the eye makeup on, but before putting the face makeup on, just in case I need to wipe my face or whatever. I'm not futzing with the makeup. But it is a process, it is a time-consuming process, and it probably could be quicker if I was better at what I was doing, but it's just part of my getting ready to film process, so it sort of gets me in the right headspace. And that time commitment is why Dr. Sicky Pants is not wearing makeup today and going with the glasses that I haven't worn in years. So with that finally done, I can start filming. And generally, I'll try to coordinate what shot is going first based on how active she is. So it's the middle of the day, so she's having her midday nap, so it's a good time to do this one. Sometimes she's got the crazies, and so then I'll start with the book angle first and then that one, but generally I do the experiment setup because I'm in that corner in front of the bookshelf, and so I have to just move everything, including my chair, run the microphone that way, run the keyboard that way. It's just a lot to put everything over there. Looking at the video files for the last Beyond Order video, the me stuff took not quite 2 hours, book stuff 40 minutes, and experiment stuff 20. I should note that these times don't include the stuff I knew I was not going to say on camera. I've been trying to offload that onto a different day since my tongue has been losing coordination after a little bit, so if I can break up the filming times for things, it's a lot better. My last step of filming is cleanup. Get everything tucked back away in the corner, clean my makeup brushes, clean my face, because that is also a little bit of a process to get what is essentially stage makeup off. Either before or after the filming day, I'll record the book quotes and everything else that wasn't said to camera. And the Peterson and Schreier quotes usually take me somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour to get down, because getting the inflection right, especially with the Peterson voice, takes a little bit of doing. The first actual editing step is processing everything, and I'll mention here that I work in the Adobe software ecosystem with some added functionality from Red Giant. I record the audio I'm going to use in Audition, so I'll run those files through a noise reduction, hard limiter, and light de-reverb before sending it into Premiere. The video goes through a processing step where I use a couple Red Giant tools to even out my skin tone and also do the color processing. And with my current hardware setup, a 30-minute video will take roughly 20 or 30 minutes to process. I know I'm breaking the convention of doing all of that processing on the final product, but I also kind of don't care. I'll get these videos with all of that color processing done. It looks good enough, and I typically will let those render while I sleep, so I send the processed audio and video through Pluralize to get the two synced, resulting in an XML file I import into Premiere. Pluralize was critical with my old audio interface, as the Behringer's clock was apparently slightly off from everything else. Pluralize would ever so slightly stretch out the audio file to match the video's audio. It was so much better than having to see when the audio went out of sync with the video, then nudging it back into sync roughly every 3 minutes of recorded video. And then, finally, everything goes into Premiere. My audio gets a little bit more processing from inside Premiere. It's just the essential sound, balanced female voice settings with a couple tweaks. And I've tried doing all of my processing in Audition, all of it inside Premiere, different stackings of different things, following different people's guides on what you need to do to make good sounding audio, and this combination I think works the best for me. Another thing that happens at some point is figuring out the music. I have a spreadsheet with a bunch of math letting me figure out how long it takes me to get through chunks of the script. It gives me an idea of song lengths to look at while figuring out which songs to use in that video. I try to cycle through songs so it isn't the same handful every time. I generally keep music in the background for most of the video, aside from the title cards and stuff. In the process of my teaching certificate, one of the suggestions for how to help people pay attention during long, talky sessions was to just have some nice music running in the background. That helps tie up some of those loose attentional resources and actually helps you focus, so that's why that's there. I have a template folder set up with the organization and starter files I use for all videos. I just have to copy and rename it each time. The starter Premiere file has all the folders and everything imported that I pretty much use in every video. Alright, let me show you around the inside of my starter Premiere file. So this is the arrangement of things that I have just grown accustomed to, like being able to see my history, have the essential sound easy to get, but not in the prominent part, a couple sequence thingies, and, other things. Okay, we'll pop this open, so if you're curious, you can see what's in my Use Lots folder. But let's go through everything that I just keep reusing in all my videos. Okay, so that's just the stuff that it includes every time. This includes the things that I need a lot of the time. So, a lot of my backgroundy things are in here. So this is going to be in the next Schreier video eventually. And then just all the other ones. Motion stuff I got right at the beginning of the quarantine. Somebody had a bunch, just download them and use them. I was like, yes, please. And then this is something I do because I love having little label things that are the right color. So I have them, that's a pink fill. And then this is the purple one, the green one, just so it's easy for me to grab it and drag it in without having to remake it every time, because that sucks. Okay, so then the animations, images, quotes will basically be empty until I'm populating it with stuff that's in the project itself. So they're just placeholder folders for right now. The backgrounds is all of those quote backgrounds I used during the Peterson videos. So All of them are in there, so I can just find them easy without having to grab them every single time. Quotes, I'll have the quotes I'm pulling in from previous videos. These are the video or the audio and video files that are used in the thing. Flags are all of these things, even though I've gotten into the habit of just having them live in a timeline, so I can just copy and paste with all the different settings for it. Because, the scaling's different or opacity is different. And it's also just easier for me to find them down here. So that's all the flags. And then we got the frames, like I haven't used Beer Hat Pika in a while, but all those little side frames live there. Channel stuff is the stuff at the beginning and end. So like the name thingy at the beginning, socials, little ending video, music gets to live in there. And then all of my sequences. I did one video at 4K, but things aren't ready for that yet. Now's probably a good time to talk hardware. My tower is built from scratch with a lot of help from Dr. Mr. the Computer Builder. Hitting the high points, I've got an assortment of hard drives, an AMD Ryzen 7 3700X, 64 gig of RAM, which was 32 until a couple months ago, and an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2070 Super. No kill like overkill. I got super lucky in the purchase of that video card because I got it right before video cards, especially the RTXs, became difficult to get during the pandemic. And it is amazing for working in Premiere because it allows for hardware encoding. An hour-long video on this computer with my previous video card, which was an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650, would take at least 3 hours to encode, possibly longer if there were a lot of effects or text or other things it had to do. That same hour-long video with the RTX, because of the hardware encoding, it can be done in 20 minutes. But, and why we're talking about this here, is that hardware encoding would not work with 4K footage or with a 4K output. Like, it just will not do hardware encoding at all. And it seems like this is a known issue, so until that issue gets sorted, hopefully you all can live with the 1080p HD footage that you get. Alright, so other computery things. I absolutely love my ultra-wide monitor. It's amazing for editing videos. I got it last year and it's just been great. I honestly got it when my husband had to take his work monitor, which was my main editing monitor, back to work when they were starting to trickle back into the office. So I needed a big monitor because the side monitor was my monitor, and that was and continues to be the side extra monitor for editing and stuff. The Kensington rollerball mouse that some of you like to give me so much grief about is still my GOAT. It's actually my second. The first finally kicked it a year or two ago after working for a decade. I got it to play WoW and try to stave off some carpal tunnel, but I use it for everything. Yes, that is a hairbrush and we're just going to accept it. That is an old bamboo tablet thing. It's well over 10 years old at this point, and I still use it for Photoshop sometimes. There is this little keyboard guy, which I'm using mostly for macros in LaTeX, because the keyboard I had before this guy was a full LaTeX gaming keyboard, and it was great. I loved the function buttons, but the real estate sucked, and it was actually hurting my shoulder having to go out for the arrows and everything, so I got this little, I think it's like a 3/4 width keyboard, and yeah, it's pretty cool. But in that LaTeX example earlier, you actually saw some of the functions pop into existence because of that little keyboard guy. I imagine the way I edit the video together may be unorthodox, but it makes the most sense to me. Basically, I have sequences of the different camera angles, and then cut the good take chunks into the main video's timeline. It seems like there's probably a different, if not better way to do this that professional editors do, but works for me. I'll mention a labor-saving thing I started doing that saves me so much time when I'm editing. Basically, I do whatever I need to do, say what I need to say, and when I get a good take, then I just push the little M key to make a marker in the audition file, so that way when I'm editing, I just have to jump between the markers instead of trying to hunt down where the good take was. Marker. So yeah, I work my way through my script, just grabbing the different chunks and putting them into the main timeline until I've got the whole video. So as I'm putting those chunks in, I figure out if there's any like zoom things I want to do, any effects, that stuff, and apply it then. But the citation need flag, Freud, Jung, whatever flags that pop up, I'll just leave a marker to myself and do that as a second pass. Just sometimes they move around when things get shifted, and that's bad when they do, so I save that as like the last step. And then I will proof watch the entire thing from start to end. Depending on how many tweaks I had to do in that proofing, I might watch it again inside Premiere before sending it off to be encoded, but then send it off to be encoded, and probably watch it while I'm working on the thumbnail, possibly at the normal speed, possibly at a faster speed if I'm pretty confident things went in where they should have. But sometimes, just audio tracks disappear on one little part, and so trying to catch that before I just send it to YouTube. When I'm pretty sure that the render or the encoding is good, then I upload it to YouTube. So if I don't have the thumbnail done at this point, that is the next step in me getting things done. Generally, I'll just make the thumbnail the day I'm uploading, but for the more complicated ones, like the Fool video had a pretty heavy Photoshop job that had to be done, so that one I did well in advance of when I actually upload the video. And this is the point in this video process where I remember that I've been trying to do like bespoke captions for these videos instead of just using the auto-generated one from YouTube. So then sit down in Premiere, because they have a nice tool for that now, do the captions, and then shove that into the little box that needs to go in the upload, and then set it to Premiere. And that is how I make a video. My time allocation is generally roughly a week to write and a week to film and edit. The filming might go in the weekend, it might happen at the end of the week, it might happen at the beginning of the week, but it's roughly a week of writing and a week of editing. Basically until 2021, all of that process was scrunched down into a week, and that was not sustainable. So that's why we've moved to the 2-week model that gives me time to breathe and relax. So yeah, thanks for joining me in the scenes behind my videos. The next video will be the irreversible damage, the way back. It's the final chapter, but there will be another irreversible damage video after that where we talk about people's stories, both inside the book and outside the book, and wrap up the book and final messages from it. So yeah, until next time, bye. All right, here's a zoomed out update since the last trigeminal neuralgia video, because it can always be worse is still well in effect. And I've been complaining about this on my Discord, and I did the social community tab post roughly updating things, but even then there's some new stuff there. And not everybody checks those. I get it. I never look at people's social tabs, so here's what's going on. So where we left off in that video is I had seen the GP, but I hadn't yet seen the neurologist, and I was cautiously optimistic, guardedly optimistic about how things would go. And so in this, there's going to be like 3 things happening at the same time, but for it to make sense, we're going to sort of follow one plot thread before switching, although we're also going to kind of do this chronologically because there's just so much shit, and I am trying to stay like big picture, not get mired down in the details too much. So, neurologist, I am referred to by my GP, with the understanding that the neurologist will take over medication for me, specifically the pain medication, or the neurologist will give the green light for the pain medication being the best option for me. And I was told by the GP in our appointment that if the neurologist says this is my best option, she would continue to prescribe it for me. Neurologist comes in, sits down, opens it, and the first thing she says to me was, I don't do pain medication, so you're going to have to go elsewhere for that. Now, if there's nothing else, and like acting like she's just going to leave at that, given the extensive history of things I have tried, she doesn't have any suggestions for other things we could try. Just, she doesn't do pain medication. She has no suggestions. Kind of get out of my office. And I was honestly kind of expecting that because neurologists generally don't like doing pain medication. Anyway, so it's like, no, that isn't it, actually. I'm surprised you're kind of trying to wrap up the meeting now, but I have other symptoms that I'm kind of worried is like some neurological condition. Can we please talk about this? And Dr. Mr. the husband was with me, and he was stunned, like too stunned to speak, stunned by how this appointment was going. Like, I guess this was the first time he'd seen how bad they can go in person, because she was just so dismissive. Like, the shaking, like, here's me trying to, like, touch the microphone, and this is with some THC in my system to try to calm it down a bit. So that But yeah, so I think I figured it out. So this is like from things going weird between the two muscle groups involved. And THC seems to help calm that down. But also, I think I can compensate for it from something I picked up when I was in dance, where like to stabilize an arm movement, it feels sort of like I'm relaxing half of the situation. And so me being the raging idiot I can be was doing that compensation in that appointment with her. So the shaking didn't look as bad as it actually is. Plus, it's a little shy, which is great. Like, I literally sat down and recorded myself putting on makeup for the last video because it was just Michigan J-frogging everywhere. I have my husband try to pay attention to me and it stops. Set up the camera and it mostly stops. It just can't stop when I'm putting on like makeup and doing the fiddly bits. Like it will show up there. And so I recorded this video so I would have footage of me shaking since the doctor was just like, oh no, that's fine. You're fine. I had a hard time believing most of what she was saying to me because of the things I was told couldn't possibly be MS were things like difficulty swallowing. That is absolutely not a symptom of MS, according to this neurologist, even though one quick Googling and like, yeah, no, it is, actually. And all these other things I'm experiencing, if you could bother to not cut me off after asking me what my symptoms are. Because she did. She made me stop talking so she could do the little mini neurological exam. Fucking great. Anyways, fuck that noise. I want an MRI. My dad was being tested for MS when he died. Like, I want an MRI. I'm not leaving until you don't give me one. So, super passive-aggressively, she gets out the little pad for ordering these things and orders me an MRI for my brain, cervical spine, and thoracic spine. I get the MRIs done on 2 separate days because apparently you couldn't do all 3 at once. And I don't know if anybody else has had a thoracic spine sort of thing done, but the tech warned me, oh, it can get a bit hot in there. I was thinking about it in there, and yeah, as soon as they turned it on, like, it got really hot. But inside me. Like, inside, it wasn't just like, oh, it's really hot in this tube. It was inside me, and I was thinking about it, and it's like, we're kind of getting a little bit microwaved in these things, if you think about it. It's a weird sensation. Anyways, I have access to the MRI pictures as well as the radiology report. And, well, they found some lesions in areas that seem right for it to be MS, but they aren't classical MS lesions because nothing in my life is ever easy. I have some degeneration happening in my cervical spine. My thoracic spine seems to be okay. So there's that. So we're leaving the neurology thread for a little bit to talk about the GP situation. So before shit really went down, I decided that I'd had enough of her and I wanted a different doctor. Around this time, my husband also remembered that he had gotten an email about some coordinated care program through his work, where if you have a chronic health condition, you could be eligible to get into this program to coordinate care between doctors and whatever. So I applied, and initially, I was rejected. And I was rejected because my GP opted to not include anything about any of the symptoms I spent probably 10 or 15 minutes talking with her about in that intake appointment. The only things that were in my chart were the copy-pasted MRI results from 2019, a note about my trigeminal neuralgia pain, and an observation that I was depressed. Literally, like the 3 things that were the summary of this entire visit was, number 1, moderately depressed. Number 2, trigeminal neuralgia. Number 3, talked about general life things or something, like health things. We didn't do 3, I can tell you that. And yeah, I looked depressed in that appointment because I was in severe pain and having the exact same situation play out that has played out with pretty much any doctor in the past 3 years, 4 years. So yeah, looking at the visit notes, like, okay, there's nothing about the symptoms I talked about. Call the person for the coordinated care program back and like, hey, those symptoms I told you about aren't in that visit note. I don't know why I shouldn't include it, but they're real. And so then I was accepted, and we're going to leave the coordinated care to talk about the doctor. The process of getting completely over this doctor involved the first pain medication refill, like a month after that first appointment. And I was told by one of you lovely commenters, who is a Walgreens pharmacy tech, that to avoid having my problems filling the prescription happen again, put it in a week early. That gives them time to order it. So I call it in a week early. And the physician's assistant gives me no end of grief about how I can't even call it in until I'm out. Like the day of, maybe even the day after I run out is when I need to call it in. This is despite what the pharmacy tech told me and also what the doctor told me to do. She told me to call it in 3 or 4 days early, not the day I'm out. So it's like, well, this is what the doctor told me. This is what the pharmacy tech told me. She's like, well, we'll see. And then, so here's me having a bit of a panic breakdown because, again, the shit just keeps happening. And then I get a message from Walgreens that it's being filled. Cool. My intake with the coordinated care was going to happen the week after my follow-up appointment with the doctor. And the refill timing was the week before that. I would need to call in the refill. I call it in, and the medical staff at that place decided to go with gaslighting. It's medical gaslighting. They tell me that in that first appointment with the doctor, I was explicitly told this doctor would not fill it. That is not at all what they told me. That's the exact opposite of what I was told, but this isn't the first time this has happened, so was kind of expecting it. I was expecting it to come at the appointment instead of a week before, but, things can't always work out nice. So what is their alternative? I'm supposed to get it filled by the psychiatrist. I was told I have to get this from the psychiatrist. And you're probably a bit stumped by that because psychiatrists don't do that type of drug. I say that, psychiatrists don't prescribe pain medication. That doesn't make sense. Put on hold for a little bit. She comes back. Oh no, you need to get that from the neurologist. Okay, well, the neurologist you sent me to doesn't do pain medication. And in a fit of possible just universe-driven irony, I think she was just the secretary or the receptionist, says, why would we send you to a doctor who doesn't prescribe pain medication? That doesn't make sense. No, front desk person, it does not make a lick of sense, but here we are. Yeah, so neurologist won't do it. Psychiatrist probably won't do it. And correction, no, she won't. I checked. Oh, well, we told you weren't going to get this prescription filled here, so sorry. Coordinated care can't prescribe for me, especially for these types of medications, until they see me, so that's a dead end. My care manager, because we have upgraded from a case manager to a care manager, is oh, well, you could try urgent care. And it's okay, well, a previous case manager I had was able to convince healthcare providers to give me the medication until I can get treated from somewhere else. Could you do that for me? I guess she tried and was rejected. So urgent care it was, and it went without any drama. Looked at my medication history, yep, I'm using it as I said I'm using it. So yeah, no problem. Here's a month to get you into that coordinated care appointment. So a note about the coordinated care program. When I first applied and was accepted on their website, it was showing there was an insurance issue. And it's oh, what's going on here? And they said, we'll look into it and we'll get it fixed because you guys should be able to use this. So that message disappeared. So I thought it was sorted. The week of that appointment, I'm doing the intake appointment, whatever things that you can do online, and see that there's a problem with the insurance for that doctor. They're not in network. This visit won't be covered. So yeah, there was a lot of calling and scrambling, trying to salvage the situation because it had felt like that was my hope in getting any sort of treatment at any point this year, getting the process rolling, especially because the shakiness and the brain sunburn are getting worse. So all my little hope eggs were in that basket, and yeah, so it's okay, fine. Insurance isn't going to cover this. We can maybe see her out of network. The raw, unnegotiated copay for her is $1,000, which we could do once, maybe, and try to get the coordination happening offloaded from that doctor. But no, apparently with our insurance, unless it is done by the GP, there's no point. She can't point us to anybody. There's nothing they can do. So that's it. Coordinated care isn't going to happen. Finding that out and finding out that there's just no options. We even looked into possibly appealing with HR to be able to change our insurance mid-year, and that isn't an option. So finding that out was just a huge blow. Like, I put the date on screen when that happened, but it's basically like, I'm not getting any work done this week. Like, fuck me running. So I've sort of been trying to recover from that, as well as finding out, there is something tangibly wrong with my brain. That day, I think, I had a follow-up call with my care manager to talk about how it went with coordinated care and blah, 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 and it didn't. So I'm going to have to see the neurologist I don't like again and try to figure out a new doctor situation, because my current one's, the bridge is burnt. They found out that I was going to switch to this coordinated care program, and I think they got mad. But anyways, care manager's advice to me: I need to advocate for myself in the neurology appointment. Really? It's that simple? I just need to advocate for myself more? I have been advocating for myself for the past, I don't know how long, trying to get this fucking shit sorted. And I did advocate for myself and got that fucking MRI scheduled. Like, I have been advocating for myself. I am fucking exhausted from doing this. I thought your job was to help me in this, but apparently not. I do have some tact, so did not say all of that. But we just sort of left it as, I'll call her if I need anything. Not that she can do anything, so she probably won't be expecting a call from me. So the rest of that week was just an emotional write-off. Like, take the time to recover from that, because it was a lot. This whole experience has been a lot. So, week after that, I set about scripting the next irreversible damage video. It is all scripted. Like, literally, have the entire script all ready to go and to film. But then I lost my voice. Dr. Mr. the husband appears to have brought home a bug of some form. He was having coughing and stuff from it. I was just kind of no voice and also just sick and feeling tired and everything. I had gotten the flu shot. He hadn't, so I assumed maybe that was the difference there. It makes sense. He stayed home and sort of quarantined because they had people coming in interviewing for stuff, and he didn't want to perpetuate whatever it was. So, we were home and safe. A little bit before my voice went, I was also having the dizziness and nausea that happens to me periodically. It's unclear if it is just my nervous system being a dick again and that flaring up, or if it is whatever I'm sick with. I'm kind of inclined towards the former, because I'm still kind of dizzy and nauseous while I'm mostly better from the sickness. At its worst, it can be really difficult to just sit here and edit without just the room spinning on me and stuff. So it's like, well, fuck, I guess I'm losing another couple days there to this too. So I had a follow-up appointment with the neurologist that I was planning on canceling as soon as the coordinated care thing went through, but I guess it's a good thing I didn't. Just in the interest of keeping things moving, I had to see her again. Prior to the appointment, I had kind of been curious if things would change given the MRI finding things wrong with my brain. And completely unsurprising. The entire treatment of me was different. Suddenly, my concerns were valid. The shakiness was on full display because I had been not using any sort of tincture to augment things, just on the off chance she changed her mind and would prescribe pain medication for me on the condition I can pass a drug test. That's always fun. Not the case, but anyways. So the shakiness is happening in front of her, like, oh, is this new? Like, no, it's just doing it in front of you this time. I told you about this last time, but you didn't believe me. But my symptoms are valid. My concerns are valid. She isn't an MS specialist, you don't say. So is going to refer me to one. I don't know exactly how she's going to do this because she doesn't have referral power. We discussed this and oh no, I can. We won't find out if she can refer or not, probably because of the next medical step that happened. But in theory, I have a referral to an MS specialist. It's unclear if he'll actually be somebody that I can see because of our insurance, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there, I guess. Neurology appointment was last Wednesday. Thursday, Dr. Mr. the husband gets up to go get some stuff done, and he can't taste his coffee. He can't smell his coffee. That's weird. He's feeling better for the first time in a bit, but let's check. Positive COVID test. What we probably had was COVID, so fucking yay. Day after that was the intake with my new GP, because fuck the one I was seeing. And this doctor is a doctor who does general doctory things at that urgent care place. And it's the first kind of sane treatment I've had from a doctor in a while. So try her out. It was set to be in person, but I called like, hey, my husband tested positive. Can we move tomorrow's appointment to online? And yeah, so we can do it as a phone call. This was kind of funny. It's like, okay, so do you have an iPhone? Like, nope, I don't have an iPhone, because I'm assuming they would do like FaceTime. Oh, so landline? It's like iPhone, landline. Like, no, I have an Android phone. Like, oh, okay. Like, why is landline the assumption before an Android? Like, what? Anyway, so we're able to do the phone call. I'm freaking out that maybe like I'll be treated poorly because I can't see her in person and she can see my suffering or whatever. But she was nice. It was fine. I have that referral out from her in theory, although I got a call while filming trying to confirm what doctor I was getting referred to because the address was in Washington. We're not in Washington. Oh my God, this is just a fucking nightmare. Anyways, referral to somebody with the right name. Referral to pain management, who she is wanting to take over the prescribing of pain medication and a refill on the pain medication. Like, you know, this was a week early from when I run out, technically. Like, okay, I'll put it in. I don't know if they'll fill it, but okay, we can put it in. And wouldn't you know it, I got a message from Walgreens that they were out of stock. It's funny right now because I'm not out yet. It's going to be less funny this Friday if they're still out of stock. Yeah, that is all of the stuff that's been going on. And oh my God, I didn't know I could keep functioning this emotionally exhausted and poured out and just spent. But here we are. I know you guys have been amazing every step of the way. And just, I feel guilty not getting out 2 videos a month, not getting out more than 2 videos a month. Especially for my patrons, because you guys are sending me money to do stuff, and I feel bad if I'm not. So I appreciate the love every single time, and this is a me thing, not a you guys thing. Like, I just need to be okay with what I can do, and that's something I'm still working on. To wrap up this portion of the video on not such a downer, kitty news. Kitty news. Their favorite brand of cat food is being discontinued. We had been getting like duck of a particular brand that seems to be just they're not going to make it anymore, which is bad because these two are little picky fuckers. So we've been trying just all kinds of different cans because we are switching to mostly canned at this point. Although to get Maxikins, who is over there, to eat, we have to bribe him, like shove greenies or like dry into the canned food, otherwise he won't try it. I think we have a replacement figured out. Like, she likes little shreddy chickeny things, so we have some options for her. He likes a duck and like tuna, so it's like it'd be nice if we weren't using fish in it, but he eats it and he hasn't ate the other things. So yeah, and I owe you guys a lobster kitty dinner. We have the food for that. I just need to film it. So probably for the next Peterson video, maybe around then, do it. But yeah. Hopefully your 2022 is going better than mine. Bye.